everyone, I'm Rachel here with Ari, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week, we're on episode 320 asking, how can you create a book launch roadmap? Before we start, don't forget to visit and follow our coffee page, where you can access lots of free goodies. If you're in a position to support us financially, you can become a Merry Writer for just $2 a month and get exclusive monthly content. Everything we earn on coffee goes into keeping the show going, so we really do appreciate any support. So, few months ago, in episode 302, we ended up talking about our writing goals, which probably have already changed by now, let's be real. And during that episode, we briefly bickered about roadmaps. I don't know why, I don't remember why, I don't even know what we were talking about, but that was in the notes for this episode. So here we are. We're talking about book launch roadmaps. So what is it? It's essentially a guide or timeline planning out step by step everything you need to do for your book's launch, covering pre-launch, the week of publication, post-launch, and even promotion. Having a roadmap is a great idea to help keep yourself organized and stay on time when releasing your book, because just because the book is written, it doesn't mean it's ready, that your work doesn't end even if it's ready to be released into the wild. And every step of the way, releasing your book, even after it's published, takes planning and a whole lot of effort that you won't even see coming.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things is you don't realize, especially if it's the first time you're publishing, as a self-published author, you don't realize the number of things that you need to do and things you want to do, because obviously some of the marketing is want, some of the things you need to do. There are so many moving parts, and I know that because I am literally knee deep in it as of recording this, because I am planning and thinking, and the whole point of a roadmap is you need the time, don't you? You have so many moving parts to think about. You need to have this laid out in front of you, so you're not cramming everything into 1 or 2 days, which can definitely happen if you haven't got a plan. So yeah, don't do that. Honestly, the number of authors I would reach out to saying, hey, so like, what are your thoughts regarding roadmaps? And everyone's like, what roadmap? And I was like, is it just me who likes to have a structured list of what needs to be done when ready? And apparently it sounds like it. I don't think it is, because I've definitely heard the term roadmap and like launch plan come up, but yeah, shocked that so many don't.
I had a list, I just didn't have it in order or organized because I was actually making things up as I went along. And whatever I did for Apparitions Anonymous, I realized, oh, this worked well. I should do that for Happily Ever Afterlife. And there were other things where I was like, that didn't work at all, or I need to do that way earlier. So then I put it in a new list for Happily Ever Afterlife, and I kind of tweaked it each and every time, but I just didn't have it like organized. It was just like one big massive word vomit list. But now, because Ari and I argued about it, now I have an actual roadmap.
I think you make a good point, because it's really helpful to have a roadmap for the second book. Because as you said, most authors will learn something that would help the next book, because everything is a learning experience in the writer world. So whatever you did in the first book, there'll definitely be something that needs to be tweaked, changed, or discarded in this for the second book. And having a roadmap that you can then sort of mess about with and be like, right, okay, yeah, definitely should have done my cover reveal earlier. I'm going to move that, 3 months earlier, whatever. So definitely, it's definitely helpful to have. So let's talk about it in the sense of like the best way to start. According to us, let's always throw that in. According to us, a best way to start. For me, it is being it's been breaking down everything in categories. Now, that comes from me being quite detail orientated sometimes when I'm actually really focused. And it comes down to lists. I love myself some lists. I love myself some color coordinated lists. So what I did was I got my colored pens out and I got some paper and I listed different things such as basic marketing, newsletter, social media, authoring. And this was the stuff that's kind of still going on, which was the formatting, sorting out the ISBN, front matter, back matter, things you need to update, like places your bio is, like Gravatar. This is just a random thing. I totally forgot I have a Gravatar. And I would definitely have forgotten to update that if it didn't get popped up because somebody happened to mention it on a blog post. So that's what I call my authoring. And then there's like the admin, which is what I consider things like emails, which would be maybe emails regarding ARC reviewers, emails asking about guest posts or interviews and things like that. Then there's artwork, getting your cover done, getting character art done. If you're thinking about doing merch, figuring all that stuff out, that sort of stuff. And what I did was I gave everything a color, and then I'm going to use Rachel's thing. I just word vomited everything onto little pieces of paper, like post-it size paper. And I just wrote everything I could think of. And I connected it. So it's like, create a book trailer. But then you'll think, right, when are you going to launch your book trailer? So put that on launch book trailer. Get cover artist booked in. When do I want to do a cover reveal? So sometimes you'll come up with an idea and then you tie it to the next idea. So creating something, a book cover, character art, that then moves on to when do you review it? And I just built up this, well, it was like a web, a web of little pieces of paper in multiple colors because it makes me happy. And I just spread them all over the floor because I find categorizing everything and putting it into small bite-sized chunks works the best for me because I often get overwhelmed. And while I will put it into a list that's easier to read, I like to sort of spread out and just have this kind of visual map on the floor. I don't know why everything's on the floor because I've got no cupboard, no wall space. That's why. And I'll be honest, it still overwhelmed me just how much I had to do. And it wasn't even everything because no matter what you think, there will be something else. And I'm still adding it because like somebody popped up like, oh yeah, bookshop.org. You want to get on bookshop.org? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I will. I'll write that on. Make sure to launch on put your book on bookshop.org. Goodreads, yeah, shit, I need to update that. Right. And you will keep finding new things. So I think the first step is just to sort of collect all the ideas and then categorize them into social media, newsletter, basic marketing, guest interviews, finishing the actual goddamn novel in the sense of getting it formatted, getting the trim size, getting the front and back matter done, and just work out what you want and what you need for your novel. And again, every novel is different. So it's like, you might be the sort of person going, I'm going to contact the newspapers. I'm going to contact my local newspaper and get them to interview me. I am never doing that. So that's not on my list. But if you are big into getting on the radio or the newspaper, because that's what you want to do, then that needs to be on your list. So yeah, just take a time and just write shit down and think of everything and assume there'll be more coming up.
I 110% agree with Ari. I find the easiest way to break down that roadmap is into categories. And she's right. Other things will pop up that you don't even think of. You'll be working on one thing and then a new idea will pop into your head and you'll be like, oh, shoot, I should probably do that as well. And make sure you want to write that down. And then for your next book, make sure to include that thing in the original roadmap. So it's going to constantly update and change depending on what works best for you and your marketing tactics and, what doesn't. I mean, my roadmap, I have mine in Google Sheets and it is, of course, color coded and it's in rainbow order because why not? And I have it from the very, very beginning all the way through post-launch and marketing. Now, technically a roadmap, it's called a book launch roadmap, so it's really just for, the launch of the book. I have it set up so that because it's from the very beginning, I have a section or a category that's before the book, and that's where I figure out the budget, research, etc., etc. And then I have creating the book, which includes the outlining, the different writing drafts, yada yada. And then I have launching the book and marketing the book. So launching and marketing are kind of essentially what the actual book launch roadmap is. And I have it listed so that I have like all the things that I need to do, but I don't have time frames attached to them yet because it's going to change depending on my project because I'm writing a novel right now and that's a 4-book series, but before that, my previous 2 books were short story collections. So it's going to be different depending on the scope of the project and stuff too. But a lot of book launch roadmaps, like if you Google book launch roadmap, you'll get a ton of templates. And specifically the Ingram Spark one, if I remember, I will leave a link to it in the description below. It breaks it down like 6 months before publication. So it lists some ideas of things you want to do 5 to 6 months before publication, 3 to 4 months before publication, 2 months before, 1 month before, and so on. But it doesn't go further than that. It doesn't tell you what you should be doing the week of publication. It also doesn't tell you what you should be doing a month after publication, 2 months after publication, and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of good ideas on there, which most of what Ari already touched upon, making sure that everything is updated. If you want to reach out to the newspapers, do that. Get on podcasts, get interviews, guest posts, all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed a number of the templates don't mention post-launch. And I think this is the idea that, well, once the book's out, it's fine, just start writing the next one. It's like, first of all, probably start writing the next one sooner than that if you can. And also, you still need to be you still need to be promoting after the launch. So definitely look after a month to 1 to 3 months after for still pushing, still getting interviews, still doing little things on social media, still mentioning it in your newsletter, still reaching out, because it's not like people are going to buy the book in the actual like week of launch and that's it. It's like, no, there'll still be people out there. So you still might want to do giveaways. You still might want to do book collaborations with other authors who have a book coming out that's the same thing, where you can like do like a newsletter swap. There are things you need to do. Yeah, the idea of like the 6 months, the 5 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, and all that. One of the other things is certain things take time, like making a book trailer. If you're doing it yourself and not having someone else do it, if you've never done one before, you have to have that slight learning experience. So having like a calendar line out with 6 months and thinking, right, the launch the 2 week of launch is kind of the most important. That's when you need to like fully focus. It's not a case of just like, well, I'm going to send a newsletter on this day, and I'm going to put some stuff on social media on this day. It's okay, but have you planned to take the photos of the book? Have you planned to do the video, create the video of you unboxing? It's not just a case of, I'm going to launch it on Instagram here. It's like, okay, but have you made the graphics ready? Have you just done everything spread out? Because the whole point of the 6 months is to give you time to make all the information, to write those newsletters, to think about it, to take good photographs, to reach out to bloggers and podcasters. Because even our little podcast, we have already filled up all the guests for 2026 at the beginning of the year. So if someone came to us and was like, hey, we've got a book coming out, it's like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait till 2027. And a lot of bloggers and podcasters and vloggers who do interviews are like that. Cover artists. I booked my cover artist in March, and her only slot was November. So I was lucky. I actually thought about getting the cover and caught her, because I think I got the last slot before she then closed her commissions for this year. So you have to think it's not just about what you're doing and all the pieces you need to do. It's the fact that a lot of those pieces are affected by other people. The people you're going to be on their blogs, the people you're going to be on their podcasts, the people who do your artwork, the character art, the cover art, your editors, anything like that needs to be thought about. If you have some technical issues and you need help with something, like maybe you're doing your own formatting and it's going wrong and you need some help, you can't say, well, I'm going to do 2 weeks for formatting. It's like, okay, but what about a bit of wiggle room? And also, have you put those 2 weeks of formatting right next to creating a book trailer and booking an interview and doing a podcast? Because you have a life. Most people have a life as well: work, kids, family, errands, just want to watch a movie. You need to make sure you spread it out. So having a roadmap that allows you to spread everything out so that you have breathing room and thinking room, so to slot things in. Yeah, it's really helpful to have that, because as I said, there's so many parts. Suddenly you start thinking that 6 months isn't enough to fit everything in. And it all culminates to that 2 week kind of like launch time, like the main week of launch, where you got like your best push for pre-orders. It's recommended that you take, if you have a full-time job, that you take like a week off during your launch week, so you can like fully focus on launch week to really get it going. I mean, that's why you have to know your launch date as soon as possible. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm going to launch it, yeah, tomorrow. You know, so all these little pieces, I think, are good if you can have them. Even if, like Rachel said, even if you don't have them like linked into specific times and dates, but if you can at least say, right, 6 months from now, I need to have at least done these 5 things. 3 months towards the launch, I need to have at least got this done. And work it that way, if nothing else. And then I think as you get closer, I do think having a calendar and like putting them in by date would be really helpful. Just a calendar that's only for your book launch. Seriously, that's what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully.
No, I think I want to piggyback off what you said about like the book trailers, and we'll just use that as an example for now. Because Ari's right, when you hire other people, there's a lot of coordination and you kind of have to cater to their schedule, depending on how many clients they have and what's currently booked and what you need from them. It's there's so much coordination that goes into it. And sometimes you may say, oh, this will take a month. And then it turns out that you can't actually book them in for when you want. So you kind of need to tweak everything. And this is partly why I don't have solid timelines on my roadmap right now. It's something that I will tweak as I go, depending on what I'm working on. But with the book trailers, if you hire somebody, that still takes a lot of time because you have to figure out when you can book them and when they're available. You don't know what their turnaround time is, and you need to be in constant contact with them because they'll send you a draft and you'll approve it and then they'll finalize it and so on and so forth. There's a lot of coordination. If you do it yourself, you can bet on probably putting more time into it, is what I would guess. Less money, probably, but still a cost because whatever you add into your book trailer, if you use sound effects or music or certain graphics, you need to make sure that you have the rights to use those in your book trailer. And just for context, I created my own book trailer for Apparitions Anonymous and Happily Ever Afterlife. Happily Ever Afterlife's trailer is 1 minute and 6 seconds, and it took me 10 hours.
Oh my
Ari's
gosh.
cracking up. Yeah,
Seriously, I wasn't expecting 10 hours for that, but it's just,
I'm
yeah,
not joking.
that's what it's like though,
Because
isn't it?
there's so much tweaking to it, and then, the different sound effects and the music, you got to search for all that, and then you got to make sure that you buy it or you have the license to use it, and there's so many little pieces that go into it that, yeah. So if you're gonna put book trailer and be like, oh, I can do that in a day, chances are you probably won't do it in a day unless well, I did. I sat there for 10 hours straight because I had the day off. But not everybody's going to have the chance to do that. And you probably shouldn't do it that way because that's really unhealthy. Get up and go touch some grass. Go outside. Don't be like me.
Yeah, and also something else I just thought of is you are at the whim of other people for certain things. And you have to acknowledge that sometimes shit happens. So you could be booked in for an interview and you could get sick. They could get sick. They could have double booked and messed it up. You could have double booked and messed it up. You don't know. So you definitely need to have wiggle room, which again is why you need this kind of longer roadmap. Because if you're cramming everything into 1 month and kind of like panicking, you're hoping that if you fill up every day that you've got something going on, it doesn't mean it's going to happen because maybe you book somebody in and they're like, yeah, we can do an interview with you. And then that person, you can't get hold of them. And now you've got that empty day right on your launch week. So booking things in early, confirming things are booked in, keeping up to date, keeping track of everything because like I offer author interviews on my blog and I send the details out. I send a nice long email, everything's broken down. I send a Google link to the interview questions and I give deadlines for when when their interview is going out on the blog and when I need the answers and all the details back. And I always give several days between when it's going live and when I need it back. And I still get people who miss that deadline. And so far I've been able to chase and get it. However, there will eventually become a time where I don't have the time to chase. And if you don't send it, you lose your slot. And that could happen. And it's up to you to keep track of everything. If you've got an interview booked, you need to keep track of it. If you're on a podcast, you need to keep track of it. You need to know where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing, what needs to be launched. And obviously use schedulers. If you're doing anything like with social media, if you have a newsletter, use the scheduler button for everything. The scheduler is your friend. If you have a quiet day and you can like create a lot of graphics for your Instagram and then schedule them out, like for however long you can, do it. Seriously, give yourself the time. If you find yourself with a free day, yeah, yes, it's great if you can go and chill, maybe a little bit, but then try and use it for one of the millions of tasks you've got for sorting this blue book out, getting it out there. And obviously, like you could be emailing people to ask for things, for asking for cover art or anything. It doesn't mean that they're going to come back to you immediately. It could be 2 weeks before they come back because maybe they're really busy, maybe they're on holiday. So again, it's saying like, oh yeah, I'll contact within a month, and it'll be fine. It's like no, because they might not come back in time. So yeah, you have to kind of have it in the back of your mind that you aren't actually in control of a lot of things.
It's really kind of scary when you think about it that like you're launching your book that you created and you have very little control over everything. And it's ironic because that's kind of the main reason why most people self-publish is because they have more control over these things. But really, you don't. And I had something else I was going to add to that, and I genuinely don't remember what it was, other than if you have the money, hire an assistant. Save yourself so much headache.
I think that's the dream, isn't it? It's to have to
Yeah.
do well enough that you can like have a assistant or a PR help, like an independent PR person to kind of take some of that load because you don't realize just how much there is. I mean, the writing is already intense, the drafting, the outlining, the many drafts, the edits by other people, the feedback. It's just ongoing, and then you're like, that isn't even, like that isn't even a third of what you have to do compared to all the other stuff that just takes up so much effort and time. And I don't know, it's like thinking like the concept of going through your manuscript and getting quotes for your social media for your no, I have read my manuscript so many times, and have I ever grabbed myself a highlighter and gone, oh, that's a good line, oh, that's no. No, I haven't. Although I was extremely lucky that one of my awesome beta readers did that for me and sent me a 2-page document full of quotes from my book. And they were brilliant. I don't even think I would have picked some of those quotes. And honestly, it's like, seriously, shout out to Morgan. Absolutely incredible that she did that. I think I love her. Um, but yeah, I haven't done that. And that's again, you're having to read your goddamn book again for the millionth time. And it's probably making you cry now. But you need to do that. And it's not a quick thing unless you're smart enough to do it as you're writing it, going, oh my God, that's a good line. I'm going to highlight that. And then I'll remember to put it in my list of quotes. And just as I'm saying this, I've just realized you mentioned budget. I have not added that to the list of things I need to sort budget spreadsheet. So I'm going to have to add that to my list, my ever growing list. Thanks, Rach.
That'll be a fun one to do. Make you very
No,
sad.
I don't want to look at the money. It's already making me cry every time I reach out to someone because I need to cover or an editor. And it's like, don't want, they're worth the money, they are worth the money. But it is painful when you like pull out your credit card and you start like, oh my God, I hope
Yeah.
this is okay.
Oh
But
my
no,
gosh.
they're worth it. They are worth it. I
I
just wish
remember
I
what I was going to
had
say
more.
earlier. I don't think it really even matters. But Ari mentioned about how you got to keep track of everything and do everything like well in advance. And I think that's why most road maps break it down by months, like 6 months before lunch, 6 months before lunch, before you eat lunch, you should do X, Y, and Z. And I think it helps to have all of like the bigger tasks grouped together. And I know that's going to sound weird because I feel like a lot of times when I make a to-do list, I look at the tasks that are going to take me the least amount of time. And then I will do a bunch of little mini tasks, and then I get to check off a lot of things. And I'm like, wow, look at how productive I was today. But I think it's helpful to do all the bigger chunks and the more time-consuming ones first, get them out of the way. Even if you need it done 2 months before launch. I keep saying launch. 2 months before launch, put it on like the 6 month task list. Because even if you need it done by a certain time, it's always helpful to have it done a few weeks beforehand. Because that way, if you need to do any tweaking or if something comes up, as Ari mentioned, you could get sick or somebody could double book themselves or whatever, you can have a backup plan or you can just roll with the punches and fill the void with something else or whatever.
I am gonna be annoying and kind of counteract that a little
Go
bit,
for it.
just a little bit. I get the whole like ticking off the quick things. I do. It's the instant dopamine that just kind of pushes you forward. It's like, when you're pushing a car, it just needs to get going. And sometimes the little tasks help you to get going. But I also agree with the concept of getting the big stuff out of the way. It's kind of like eat the frog. However, with my pinball brain, um, I like to do both because I find if you're looking at the big tasks, the big meaty chunky tasks, they can be overwhelming. And then what happens is I don't do anything. I just kept staring at them and I don't do anything because I keep thinking I need to do the big task and I don't get the small tasks or medium or anything. So what I like to do is I'll choose one meaty task and I'll do maybe half of it. And then I'll give myself a treat by doing something easy. And then I'll go back to the big meaty task and I'll finish it. I don't think I could do like all the big stuff. I agree it's probably a better way because as you said, if something messes up and that's the most important task, you kind of want it off your plate. So I definitely don't agree with leaving it to the last minute. But if you get overwhelmed easily, if you need that kind of a break, throw in a couple of little mini tasks in between your chunky tasks. And I think that can help kind of keep you going. It's like a little like stepping stones before you get to the next big mountain you have to get over.
No, I agree with that. And when I say do the big tasks first, I don't mean complete them in one sitting or within a week or anything like that. But I mean, most big tasks, you want to break them up into smaller chunks. And sometimes you won't even be able to get them all done in one big fell swoop anyway, because you'll need to do something. It's like editing. You don't edit your book and then rewrite the next draft and then immediately edit it again. You take breaks in between. I just meant get the ball rolling with the bigger tasks. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, Ari explained it better. And yeah, no. If you do complete a big chunky task or even half of it in a short amount of time, then yeah, good for you. Do some of those easier little tasks or, just take a break for a day or two. That's the other thing that you should add into your roadmap or your timeline or whatever. Factor in breaks, whether it's a day here or 2 days there, or you take like a week. Like you could send out arcs or I don't know, reach out to what's the word? Book reviewers or cover artists or whatever. Like give yourself 3 days after that to wait for their responses and just don't even do anything if you want, if you have the time. But you should schedule in breaks anyway, regardless.
I'm gonna be annoyed and add something else in, just a little thing.
Do it.
Your launch week is probably going to be massively intense if you like going full, hell for leather for it. However, it's gone are the days of like big launch parties for most people. I'm not saying all, but most people. But you have to remember, especially if this is your first book, you wrote a fucking book. You published a book. You went through all the many, many steps and crying and rocking yourself to sleep steps to get and publish a book. So take at least a day and celebrate the win, because I think it's this attitude of just we get through it, get through it, get through it, sell it, on to the next one. Yes, there might not be this big fanfare online, but even if it's just you and your partner or your kids or your best friend or even just yourself, you take yourself out, go and have a nice meal, go to the cinema, do something as a celebration to you. And I think everyone should do that. And I think a lot of people don't. I think everyone just kind of moves on with I've got to keep selling, I've got to keep marketing, I've got to kind of write the next book. Take one day and celebrate the fact that you published that book. And even if it's your 20th book, I don't care. You celebrate that too, because it's a blooming good thing you did. So do it.
I think that's a good thing to end on because I agree with Ari. I concur. You absolutely should celebrate it. And even throughout the whole process, celebrate the wins, the big wins, the little wins. If you get stuck and you manage to do one little task throughout the day, even though you were supposed to do five, celebrate it anyway. You did it. You're still making progress. You're doing a good job. And I do agree that once you publish your book, you should have a little party, get together with friends or family, and yeah, celebrate yourself and your hard work. Pat yourself on the back because you did a good job. Now, with that said, we want to hear your thoughts. I mean, did we miss anything? We didn't really explain the roadmap as a whole, but that's fine. This was, you know, what's the word of the day? Word vomit. That's what this episode was. But I think we had a lot of good points. Hopefully we helped. But anyway, let us know your thoughts in the comments. And remember, we release a new episode every Wednesday. Next week, we're discussing the importance of networking for writers. So to ensure you don't miss that, hit the subscribe button on your way out. If you'd like to learn more about us, check out our website at themerrywriterpodcast.podbean.com and our coffee page for more content. Thanks for listening to the Merry Writer Podcast. We will see you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by New Ideas. We're easily distracted. The music, titled Inspired, is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.